When pissing on a swan, please consider that the act of pissing on the swan is the act of pissing off the swan. And thus the antonymic antipathy that ordinarily drives your actions in opposite definitional directions is, no, pissing on the swan is pissing off the swan. And when pissing off the swan, here defined as standing on a swan pissing over the side, please consider that the act of pissing off the swan is the act of pissing on the swan by virtue of being on a swan. Pissing is no doubt the act of pissing off the swan. Doubly so if you don't piss far enough. And thus the homonymic harmony that should smooth your pursuits into perceptual parallel lines is, no, pissing off the swan is pissing on the swan is pissing off the swan. And when standing on a swan, pissing over the side is propulsion across the pond water to escape the pissed off policeman who's caught you pissing on a swan, please consider your life choices. And whatever you do, don't piss on the policeman, because when pissing on a policeman, please consider that in this instance, policeman is a synonym of swan. When calling out, coo, 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 to beckon to the cuckoo, please consider that if that cuckoo is your leader, then calling out coo, coo, coo is not comely, it is crass. When definitions are defining themselves as definitions, when words mean words, when piss means piss and swan means swan, please consider the redundancy of discourse when Muslim means terrorist. Criminal means athlete, refugee means crisis component. When dropping bombs in Parliament is not homonymous but synonymous with dropping bombs on people, please consider that no dropped clangor will calm the clamour to curb the casualty count. When breaking through walls of opposition in order to build walls, please consider that building barriers breaks bonds far stronger than the definitional relationships between your words. When speaking, please consider that free speech is not free from criticism. And when political promises break like the spine of a swan when stood on, please consider that the ruffle feather public prefer to not be pissed on. And so when pissing on a swan, please consider that actions speak louder than words. Thank you very fucking much. Voice box. Here are some facts about pigeons, some of which might be true. There are 310 species of pigeon and all of them lactate. Every species of pigeon lactates from its throat. There's a species of pigeon that lactates to feed its children. There's a species of pigeon that lactates to feed its lackeys. There's a species of pigeon that lactates to impress its lackeys. There's a species of pigeon that lacks the taste or the good grace to lactate in private, at least according to another species of pigeon that's perfectly happy for pictures of pigeon tits to be emblazoned on billboards advertising Pigeon Victoria's Pigeon Secret. There's a species of pigeon that takes issue with the issue of whether or not to call pigeon tits tits, as they are located in the throat, and there are 91 species of tit elsewhere in the garden. There's a species of pigeon that lacks the capacity to taste lactation, lacking the capacity to taste lactation both during lactation and whilst feeding thereof, but never lacking lactation because there are 310 species of pigeon and all of them lactate. There's a species of pigeon that lactates mashed potatoes. There's a species of pigeon that's lactose intolerant and hence lacks lactose in its lactations. And there's another species of pigeon that isn't lactose intolerant but also lacks lactose in its lactations in order to feed the pigeon that is lactose intolerant. And there's another species of pigeon that isn't lactose intolerant and doesn't lack lactose in its lactations in order to feed the pigeon that isn't lactose intolerant but does lack lactose in its lactations so that it doesn't lack lactose from its diet. There's a species of pigeon that wonders whether, etymologically speaking, lactations lacking lactose need be called lactations at all, and by extension, pigeons lacking lactose in their lactations need be called pigeons at all. After all, there are 308 other species of pigeon, and all of them lactate. But then, there's a species of pigeon that doesn't identify as pigeon. And that's fine because species is arbitrary, pigeon is personal self-perception, and so all told, there are 309 species of pigeon, and all of them lactate. But I don't. So they're getting bread. Cheers.